Hello world, hello Australia, it's Jamie here, the Crypto Koala. Now today guys, I've got a very special guest. It's Bruce Lee from NKN. Great to have you here today, Bruce.
Hi, good morning, Jay, and a nice day you have there as well in Australia.
Yeah, it's just the morning, the sun's coming up, but it looks like it's going to be another hot day here. So,
I see.
So Bruce, we'll get straight into it. Hey, so tell us a little bit about yourself, mate. And I understand you
Yeah,
spent some time over in Australia as well.
right. Actually, I spent about 4 years in Australia. So I was studying in Canberra, the Australian National University, and I was doing a master's degree in telecommunications. So that's where I landed me a job in Nokia and back to Finland. And I spent about 7 years in Finland, and I moved to California, worked for Nokia for a little bit longer, and then joined Google for the Project 5, which is also their telecom service. And then last year we started the NKN.org together with Yempo and a few other folks. Yeah.
That sounds great. A master's in telco. So it sounds like you got some, you've got the experience there. Back just under a year ago, you raised over 12 million in your token generation event. So how has the funds that you raised helped with the project?
Yeah, I think the funds we use like this way. So the majority of the funds we use for the development, right? So we pay for the salary and the people and software and everything, and the rent, of course. And then another portion of it for marketing and business development. So we work with different partners, both in the mobile carrier space as well as the application developers. So we need a fund to incentivize the users. And the last part, we are really incentivize the community who actually build out the network. So if you look at our website today, I think it's about over 6,500 nodes globally and almost entirely built by the community.
That's wonderful. So have you come across any challenges over the last year with developing wise?
Actually, we had always very good kind of traction with technology development. So from the product technology point of view, we are actually making really good progress. Actually, it's better than we expected. Initially, we thought it would be harder than we thought because we are using a brand new consensus algorithm and we are very brand new peer-to-peer networking. But actually, we have been releasing testnet already 5 releases already, and we iron out almost all the bugs, and it's very stable and very performant right now. So that's not actually the main challenge. I think the biggest challenge is probably associated with the market downturn. And also last year, I think we had a little bit challenge with the Binance community vote. So in terms of business and the token economy, it was not the best at the second half of the year. So that, and also combined with the overall market downturn. So I think it's also a little squeeze on the funding side as well, because whatever we have raised have lost kind of, I think almost when we raised the funding, the Ether was about $600, and the lowest point last year was about $80. So yeah, that was kind of the challenges on more on the business side, less on the technology side.
It seems like even with the downturn, though, you guys have been meeting your deadlines and developing. So you guys have been building throughout the downturn and delivering, which has been really good. So I see that as a big accomplishment with the NKN. So they're currently undertaking a token swap at the moment, with the deadline being the 23rd of March 2019. So why are you moving over from the NEP5s to ERC20?
Yeah, I think that's actually more of a business decision. So I think end of last year, between November and December, so we look at the ecosystem, we look at how can we get onto the better exchanges or big exchanges. One of the hurdles is really because our token is based on NEP5. And some of the exchanges actually said, very frankly, said, well, if you were a ERC20 token, we would have listed you like very quickly. So those are the triggers to really do the hard work. So we built a swap tool. We talked to the exchanges we already have to get their support, and also pin kind of serving the community, especially the NKN Club, which are the core core community members, and we got really good support. So that's the reason earlier this year in January, we started the swap. And I think since we started the swap, and most of the people already swapped, and And also that momentum get us listed on Bittrex International and Upbit as well. And I think more to come toward that goal. Yeah.
So do you find that with the swap, you got the exchanges that are going to be on board supporting the swap?
Definitely. So I think that's one of the main reasons to really kind of improve the liquidity of the tokens. Otherwise, last year, during a certain period, like in November or December, the daily volume is very low, like 20,000 US dollars or even less, which is really alarming. So to have a healthy economy, token economy, you have to have good liquidity and be listed on lots of kind of really reputable and large exchanges.
I guess that's good with SwitchShare as well, where they're now trading ERC20 tokens. So hopefully that transition should be easy. So the NKN nodes form the backbone of the network. So Bruce, you mentioned before how many nodes you guys have got, which is quite a high number. So
right.
How decentralized are you guys?
Right. So actually, this is something we are really proud of, because even though I think at the peak we have over 7,000 nodes, but from the project itself, we only run about between 100 to 120 nodes. So we calculate about 2%, less than 2% are run by the project, 98% run by the community. So that's like a huge decentralization. And to put everything in perspective, if you look at the Bitcoin today, they have, I don't remember exact count, both Bitcoin and Ethereum have about 10,000 kind of nodes, like consensus nodes. So we are very close to that. And once we move from the testnet to the mainnet, we expect that our number will increase quite a bit, because right now in the testnet we have incentive, but not as good as if you are on mainnet, you are mining the real token. So we expect to at least 15,000, maybe 25,000 nodes upon mainnet. So that will make us one of the biggest blockchain in terms of the full consensus nodes. So I think that's achievement itself, and a brand new consensus algorithm, and reaching that kind of scale and stably over a very long period of time, I think itself is a big achievement, and the thing we are most proud of, and fully decentralized as well.
So that's, I guess, what's drive that sort of node growth as being incentive to actually run a node. It's so easy to set up a node at home. So if you're a person at home, how easy is it? Can anyone set up a node at home or on a mobile phone?
Not on the mobile phone yet. So right now we are working on the kind of cloud service provider. For example, we recently announced Google Cloud, and previously worked on DigitalOcean. So basically when you log in there, there's called a one-click NKN installation. So that is indeed one click. So that's the easy part. I think 100% of people will be able to do it. And then the second step is really to back up your wallet file and back up your wallet kind of password. That might have a little bit hurdle. So that there you might lose a few people. But overall, I think for most people who have been with computers, using computers, the whole process can be done between 5 to 15 minutes.
Oh, that's wonderful. So for example, I've got 80 gigabytes at home, and out of that 80, I only used 20%. So say for instance, excess 60 gig, I can relay that to someone else in the network and be rewarded for it.
Yes. So that's one way we really want to happen in the future, right? Because I think if you run on the cloud service providers, it's still kind of centralized, right? You have maybe 15 data centers around the world. What we really actually want to see in the future is everybody can run the node at home. We already have lots of people running at home, but the hurdle is still a little bit higher because it's not like a one click yet for home computers. So we will do two things. First of all, we will improve the one-click home computer, the software called the one-click graphic user interface software to make it easier. The second part is really integrate with some of the devices you already have at home or you are going to buy for your home. For example, a home Wi-Fi router. So we are working on 2 versions of home Wi-Fi routers have our software built in. And the second part is maybe a home hardware disk that you already have kind of network hardware backup disk that can also run our piece of our software. So those are the areas we're looking at. How can enable everybody to have a piece of hardware that are not so fully utilized, but and not expensive either, like maybe under $100 for a Wi-Fi router or hard disk that can actually be used to run our software.
Wonderful. Now, I want to talk about the business side of things. So what incentive is there for, say, to get telecommunication providers on board? we've got the peer-to-peer, but what's the sort of to get them telco providers on board?
So there's a few incentives for different telco vendors. They have a little bit different incentive. One use case is for international roaming and settlement. So for example, if I'm T-Mobile user, if I travel to Australia, so actually the roaming charge will not be settled until 30 days later after I return from Australia. So basically Telstra, after 30 days, they combine all the data together and send a big file to T-Mobile. And then they run some computer scripts to reconcile these two. So what we can enable is almost a real-time kind of resolution of the bill. So even before I actually leave Sydney, I should be able, the Telstra wallet will have a tiny bit of money more and the T-Mobile have tiny money less, right? So that's kind of enable the real-time the transaction. The reason is because of the 30-day delay, so there's lots of errors and the fraud and all the other kind of technical support that the carriers incur, which is maybe between 5 to 10% of the revenue. So that's one area they're helping them. The other incentives, some of the carriers have extra capacity that's underutilized. By reselling that unused bandwidth, they can actually have additional revenue for their assets. So they are actually welcome that as well.
Oh, great stuff. So I know in Australia, the biggest telco provider is Telstra. So right. Could you see yourself working with, say, big telco providers in these developing countries in the future? I guess, is that something that you're really aiming for, is to try and get them big boys involved with it?
Yes, we're working with both big boys and little guys at the same time, right? But different incentives. For example, I'm not too familiar with Telstra business, but for example, some of the carriers in the US, they also have video business, right? So how can we help them to crowdsourcing the video streaming service, right? Instead of using the centralized service like a typical YouTube or a Netflix will use. So that's kind of something that some of the carriers who venture into video will be interested. For Telstra, I think we can definitely help them with international roaming, for sure. And also another model I'm thinking we've been experimenting is Australia have large rural area, right? So for Telstra to cover those rural area, traditionally you need some kind of like a government grant, or you charge a small tax for everybody else and then use that money to build out in the rural areas. So another way to do it, maybe you can ask the local community to build by themselves, but become kind of a tiny ISP per se, and then use the token economy to incentivize not only for the service they provide to the rural community, but also because they are part of the network, they can participate in the mining, and they get additional kind of economic incentive for building out their own infrastructure in addition to what Telstra has been doing in the rural area.
You recently had the Meerkat release in January. So how's the testnet going?
So the testnet actually, after Meerkat, which is 0.7, we also kind of released one version called 0.8, which has now been planned before. So that version actually fully decentralized the whole software. So since January, it has been remarkably stable, and our nodes counts will fluctuating between 6,000 to 7,000, and there's nonstop working since January. So it was we are really happy. So we are well on our way to mainnet. The preview version will happen end of this month, and the final version will be in June.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear, Bruce. So that's something that the mainnet's very close to be released. I'm hoping that you're still looking at, is it Beluga in March?
Beluga in March, yeah. Beluga is the end of this month, yes.
Oh, great. I'm looking forward to that because I've been looking at the testnet, and I'd like to see how the transactions, how it looks. You can view the blockchain basically, how it goes through the relays in the chain and how you get rewarded on that signature chain. Right. And it looks really, really good. So what's the next 24 months after the mainnet look like? So, we're looking into more of the distant future. Once you've got the mainnet launched, what you're looking at doing, after that?
Yeah, I think that's our main focus. Why actually all the founders are actually right now in California. So we have a kind of mini summit, try to figure out that as well. So from the blockchain and the peer-to-peer networking infrastructure itself, I think we have very solid foundation. We are not worried about that. So for the mainnet, the main thing we want to do is actually have a significant adoption and traffic running over that, because we know we have a really good high-performance network. So finding the best application on top of that, that's our first priority, not only for now, but also for the next 24 months. So there's two models, right? So one is you enable kind of marketplace. So you ask other people to run application on top of that. The other way is you become a publisher yourself, and we will find one or two kind of really good networking use cases. We will develop ourselves and run on top of that. So we are experimenting on both sides. So I think our priority is really to have lots of traffic running on our very high performance network. So that's our main goal for the mainnet, and also beyond mainnet.
Yeah, great stuff, Bruce. So I just like to say to the viewers, I'll put the links down below if they want to check out NKN, if they want to play around the testnet and the soon to be the mainnet. Thank you so much for your time, Bruce. Just going to give a quick disclaimer as well. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not asking you to go and get involved with NKN. Do your own research, guys, and check out NKN if you look to get involved with NKN. So thank you so much for your time, Bruce, and have a wonderful day.
Okay, thanks, Jane. And you too have a great day. Okay.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
Bye.